Thanks for coming in, bro.
No worries. Good to be in here.
I appreciate it. It's been a long time in the making.
It has.
What's been happening?
No, a lot of stay-at-home dad life.
You're down in Bowen Heads?
Geelong.
Geelong.
Yeah. Stay-at-home dad life, and it's been tough. I had 8 weeks of school holidays, and we're right in the grime. We've got a 4 and a 2-year-old, so there was no kinder, no daycare for us over that time, and it was hard work. But I have a lot of appreciation for the stay-at-home mums out there.
Oh, mate, I can imagine the most rewarding job in the world, which my beautiful wife, I say to her every day, she does an incredible job. Like, we went away recently, and my favourite thing, like I do say this, family time is the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
But we went away for about 4 days, and I was like, fuck, I said to Giles, I was like, I need to go back to work for a holiday.
For a break.
Like, it's just full on. It's crazy.
I can't believe how good I had it when I could just walk out the door and my job was the most important job in the household. So it was all about me.
Have you had a reality check of late?
Well, I have. We've got, and I mentioned this to you off air, but we've got a home care business in Geelong as well. Home at Heart for anyone that wants to look it up. In-home aged care.
Put Darcy in there.
Which she's doing a fantastic job at running, and not that it was the reason that I hung it up, but it was certainly one of the reasons that it was now my time to support my wife, and it's now her time to explore some things that she wants to do. So it's been awesome to see her go through all the stresses and everything else, and I'm the one that's got to be the supportive one. So certainly we've had a role reversal at home. And I did say to her only last week that it's been pretty cool to see the transition of our family and being able to spend so much time at home with the kids over the last 5 months. But I'm so excited they're back at daycare and kinder.
Yeah. Look, I've only got one, and it's the best thing in the world. But fuck, it's the best, hardest thing ever.
Yeah.
I can't. There is a part that is surprising me because I had my son outside of footy, so I didn't have to have that job. But I was actually speaking to Toby yesterday, Toby Green, his missus is actually going in today.
Yeah.
To have their baby, and I was like to him, because I remember when I had my kid, like I had probably like 2 or 3 or 4 weeks off work, and it was I can't imagine doing that by yourself, like with the girls, like having to go back to training or whatever. And he goes, I've got the weekend off, and then a couple days, and then I'm back at training. And I'm like, how the fuck's that going to work? Like, that's it. I'm like, mate, do you realise what's about to happen to you? Like, you can't just, like, leave, but technically you sort of have to.
Well, the thing I worked out is that you don't need to be there for the first 3, 4, 5 days. It's in 3, 4, 5 weeks' time when shit's hitting the fan at home that
is true.
You probably need to be there. But, yeah, we had our second son in the middle of the season, and that was difficult. He caught a virus in utero and he had a couple of issues. So it was a bit of a hairy time for us as a family for 6 or 12 months.
Wow.
And I remember there was one game where I had 0 sleep leading into the game. We were playing a night game. I can't even remember what the game was, but we were playing a night game on a Friday or Saturday night, and it was either Thursday or Friday night. I literally did not have 1 wink of sleep. My son was going in for a heap of tests, and this poor little boy was getting cushioned up to go into like MRI machines and all different things. And I remember it was just before we were about to run out the race, and our player development manager came over, Mark Worthington. He'll like the shout out.
He's a good man, mate.
He's a great man. And he came over, he said, "Are you all right, mate?" And I said, No, I'm not. And he said, "Do we need to pull you out of the game?" And I said, No, I'll just play. It'll be fine, whatever. And I remember just running around, played all right. I think I played quite well, to be honest. But I have absolutely no idea what happened and got home and crashed. But they're the things that, and not that I'm asking for any sympathy, but they're the things that a lot of players play with or deal with. Or when I was at Hawthorn, there was a heap of dads there, and you'd see Hodgie come in and he looked like he'd been hit by a truck. And then you've got to perform, and as a player and as a professional sportsman, you understand that you get paid to perform. So they're some of the stresses, and to be honest, they're some of my favourite and most memorable moments of playing footy as well.
It's really cool, man. I appreciate the honesty there. It's actually crazy, like, around that performance, and like we speak about this a lot, and you'll find this, transition out of the game, like how transferable those skills are just in life. Like knowing, even if you've fucking been through shit, you just have to get it done. And like this morning, I was about to have I had just 7 things pop up this morning. Like something happened personally, something happened family, something happened in business. And I was like, fuck me. Like I'm not in the game right now. But I'm like, Izzy's coming in like 20 minutes. Like get your fucking shit together, get it done, and then worry about it after. But it's pretty cool to like know when you just have to get it done. Sometimes you just got to get it done.
Yeah. And that's one of the main skills you get out of footy. And the beauty is that you don't get any sympathy and no one cares.
Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah, no one knows. Yeah, that's a big one. Like, no one knows. But as you said, you just got to suck it up, get it done. Like, I remember multiple times where teammates were in hospital in the weeks leading into prelim finals, grand finals, different things. They roll out of hospital the day before a game and then they go and play in effectively the biggest game of their career. So, so many things pop up in people's lives. I think the AFL's certainly getting better and clubs are certainly getting better at pulling guys out when they know there's really big issues going on, because more often than not, that's when players get injured because they're not at their... there's probably an element of fatigue and an element of where they're not fully engaged in what's going on, so you're more likely to get injured. But there's some of your best memories in footy when it's hard.
Yeah, you're getting it done. It's 2 people sort of stand out to me, like through my playing days, of just that relentless sort of pursuit of just getting it done and no like frills, no fuss. I remember when I was playing Matt Cruiser, who's obviously a hugely respected. Like people used to call him the truck because you just kept fucking trucking. Like, trucks just don't stop. They're not going quick, but they just don't stop. Like, and he would multiple occasions like have surgeries midweek, and like not even the playing group would know about it. You sort of see him like limping in, and then you're like, oh, what happened? He's like, oh, I just had this quick thing, and then just get up and play that week. Yeah, and you're just like, fucking hell, mate. Like that is unbelievable. And then another one that could have been an incredible story. Unfortunately, when there's no success, sometimes after it, the story isn't as good.
Success helps.
Success definitely helps. But I remember...
so you're saying none of your stories are relevant in your career?
No, this isn't to do with me. So I could tell you through I broke my wrist in a VFL game once and we beat Werribee.
Where's the VFL?
It's exactly. No, come on.
I do have a VFL premiership.
But Matt DeBoer at the Giants, who I'm not sure if you are familiar with, personally, but obviously you know who he is. He went into that grand final like with a 90% sort of like chance. I could be fluffing this story up, but the knee his like ACL was pretty much not attached. Yeah. And he got through and actually played a really good game. And I was like, fuck, if they had won, they lost by about 100 points. But if they had won, can you imagine that legacy and that story of how cool that would have been? Yeah. Crazy.
But you didn't.
But, well, they didn't. I was in the stands.
So you didn't play.
Yeah, I was in the stands.
It's amazing. And some
This
players...
was the grand final against Richmond. Yeah. Where they got pumped.
Yeah. Which is crazy. And depending on the player, they can... something like that, you're running straight lines. Yeah. You can get away.
Did you have any situations going, like you've played in 4 flags, 4 premierships, like any sort of touchy moments going into games, or did you always find yourself quite fit heading into big ones?
No, I reckon more often than not, I went into a game worrying about
something.
Yeah. An injury of some sort. You always, or I did, always had a little nick in a calf or a little nick in a hammy, and you're thinking, oh, am I going to be able to get through? Or I remember leading into the 2015 final series, I did my MCL in my knee, and you end up getting a fair few needles to get up for the games. And I remember we played West Coast over in Perth in the first final over there, and I'd done my MCL the week before. I think it was a grade 2 tear.
Shit.
And I remember after that game, all the painkillers wore off. And I was just like, oh, what have I done here? And then the beauty of modern medicine. But I think you'd find most of the teams that are playing in a grand final, not necessarily who wins, but most of the teams, a lot of the players would be going out there
carrying something.
I was actually, this is a funny story. I'm not sure if we want this to go to air or not, but we used to take these anti-inflams that were suppositories.
Yes, the silver bullets.
Yeah, silver bullets. Yes. Do you ever take them?
I have sat on a few of those.
And I was telling Mum the other day because she fell off a bike and hurt her wrist. And I said, oh, I've got some good anti-inflams at home.
You give them to your mum.
She's a palliative care nurse, so she knows all about that kind of stuff. But even then I was telling her to the extent of like some of the things you do leading into games, and she had no idea.
Yeah.
And she's your mum.
It's crazy when you look back now, though, isn't it? And you think, fuck, you actually put yourself through some of this shit.
Yeah,
but when you're in the thick of it, it's just, you just do it.
Well, you don't think twice about it. So, yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
Going back to, because you were picked up as a 19-year-old or 20-year-old?
No, I was.
You were 21.
I finished uni. I reckon I was 21, nearly turned 22.
How did that happen? So what happened earlier? Like, was it just not on the radar? Were you not, like, did you take time to develop further? Like, what were you playing?
So I grew up in country New South Wales, so Cootamundra. Not a big footy town at all, rugby league, rugby union town. A lot of good rugby league players have come out of there. And the development in Aussie rules was non-existent. I used to train with the senior team during winter, and they were a very average football side. Coota was that cold in winter that you'd come off training and your windscreen would all be frozen over. But yeah, just the development wasn't there. I played my juniors for Temora and in Wagga, and I was a small kid. I didn't develop till I was sort of 16, 17. So you missed that boat. I was also a December 30 baby.
Yeah,
so you're also young in the year, so you don't get the opportunities that someone that develops earlier in the year. It's funny, there's a great book by Malcolm Gladwell, The Outliers. I don't know if you've read it.
No.
But it talks about that in terms of the National Hockey League in America and the Canadian hockey, and how players that were born in the first half of the year tend to have got drafted versus players that are born in the second half of the year, because even from 6, 7 years of age where they start to get identified, they got 6 to 12 months development on the youngest players. And so then they get pushed into representative stuff. They get more training. They get more access to certain coaches. And it just talks about how on a line, like, you know, they're tracking along together, and then because they get all the extra development, they take off.
It's interesting.
So then there was a bit of ploy by list managers in certain sports to go and try and look at the talent and find the unicorn that was born in the back half of the year that didn't get all that development. LeBron James was a December 30 baby.
Is he?
I think he developed early though.
Yeah, he was.
But it's interesting if you went back and looked at it, how many players have probably missed out on opportunities because they were younger.
Later in the year.
Yeah.
Well, there's one, we were talking about it yesterday with Mick Barlow and Brett Delidio. What was the bloke's name, Darcy? You remember the guy from North Melbourne that was being picked up? He's a big ruckman, and he's like December 30 this year. So he just got picked up.
Yeah.
But needs a lot of development. They weren't alluding to that depth of the story, but it makes complete sense.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So, but cricket was different because I was right in the middle of cricket, because in New South Wales,
half year.
Yeah, it's half year.
Yeah.
So
well, they used to have that with the draft though. Around like, remember when it was you get picked up, you could get picked up as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
If you were from
But you couldn't really get picked up as a 19-year-old.
No.
Like, as in, because everyone went, we just need the best kids.
Yeah.
It went through that athletic kids development stage.
Yeah. Well, that was, I think, the last draft, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was like Jack Watts' draft was the last one where he was a 17-year-old getting picked up.
Yeah,
because he was born Jan to April was the cutoff.
Yeah, right. Do you reckon Jack cooked that? Or
I think he fucked it, yeah.
But no, interesting. And I played a lot of others, so I love cricket, love touch footy, loved lots of things, but I just wasn't big and strong enough. And I think I got it quite lucky in the sense that I got to have a year off and work. Then I went 3 years of university. So I wouldn't give those university days back for
Was that at Ballarat?
Yeah, Ballarat.
What were you studying?
Oh, nothing really.
Like an arts degree.
I was at uni.
What was the course?
No, I studied sports management.
There you go.
And it was a lot of fun and that, but the best thing I got out of that was just life skills. And there was lots of partying, lots of fun. Like I remember we'd always, uni night was Wednesday nights, Geelong uni night was Thursday night, so we'd sometimes pile in a bit of a bus and roll down to Geelong uni nights. And then you'd have Friday off, and then you'd play footy Saturday, and then you'd be on the drink Saturday night, and then you'd have recovery in one of the lakes there, which was freezing in Ballarat, and then you'd have a Sunday arvo sesh. Then you recover Monday, Tuesday, and then you do it all again.
That's unbelievable.
Like, just good times.
A lot of blokes don't get to do that these days.
No.
Obviously.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that was the be-all and end-all of it, but it just, you had responsibility. You had to be your own person. You had to figure out what worked. And I was I was fortunate that I also had some talent and ability, and but I think being there and doing that rounded me out better than getting picked up as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And struggling for 4 or 5 years and then, say, making it through. You have to hold down a job, you have to study, you party, like there's a whole heap of different things. And you watch these young footballers come in now, and so many of them struggle just with the day-to-day life. They've been the best kids growing up. They've been mothered or fathered a hell of a lot, and they've come straight into a system. So, I think the way I did it's probably very similar to the American college, the way they do things. But, it was a hell of a lot of fun.
It's crazy. Like, I reflect on a lot of stuff now, and I think that if I had have had that sort of journey, it would have been so much better for me as well. Just having that perspective, like you go from 18 to school straight into a system, and you're like, this is going to be me forever.
Yeah.
But it just, without knowing what actually other mates are doing and all those sort of things too, and going through uni, and as you said, like learning how to do your washing, moving out of home, knowing that like the bills aren't going to just pay themselves. Like, you're not on big money. You're just doing these things that are building those life skills. A lot of guys that get into footy, you have to learn that when you leave. And you could be like 30 years old trying to work it out with kids. So it's a lot harder.
Well, it was like, it was different for me, as we just talked about, but I got even institutionalised being in it for 13 years, and I had 4 years before it. And I felt like I had a lot of other skills, but then you get institutionalised and everything gets done for you. Like, it's not normal life when you're in there. And you understand why it happens, because you're trying to make these players and allow these players to be the best they can be. And so it should be for the elite. But there are a lot of guys that get spat out and don't have the skills to transfer into normal life. So it takes them 1, 2, 3, 4 years to adapt.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Even if I got in as an 18-year-old, I would have got spat out. I wasn't big enough, I wasn't strong enough, I probably wasn't mature enough. You look at these young ruckmen and they come in and they get smashed in a pre-season. And you think you're probably better off playing country footy for 3 or 4 years, getting used to playing against men, putting on some weight because you're probably having a couple too many beers. All you're doing is arms.
Shane Mumford style.
All you're doing is punch and bench press. Yeah. So you actually start to put on a bit of weight, and you don't run anywhere near as much. You watch some of these young ruckmen and they run so much when they get in. They need to put on weight. They struggle to put on weight. They start to break down. It takes them 6 or 7 years to get there anyway.
Oh, mate. Well, I think they're pretty happy with that, to be completely honest. Have you seen, like, it's just credit to them. Like, you know, it's not their hard work that got them to 200 centimetres, but fuck, you can have a 14-year career in AFL and play about 4 games if you're 200 centimetres plus. It's crazy.
Fuck that.
It's unbelievable. But you're right. Yeah, you're right in that sense. So how did it, who are you playing with?
So I was playing with Redan in the Ballarat Footy League.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I was playing for $75 a game.
That sounds like my Giants contract.
Yeah. Well, I got offered $1,500 to go to another team and said no. I took the 75. They had a really good club room. It was called the Den. They still got it.
Yeah.
Great club, great fun. A lot of our uni mates were there. It helped that they had incentives. So I got best on ground a few times. That was a bit of extra money.
What was that? An extra?
Maybe an extra $300.
Okay.
Yeah, so at uni,
Yeah,
like $300, that's just...
It's a good number.
Oh, mate, it's huge. It's huge. Like, you could go out for $75. When you had $300, you're the king of the kids.
Yeah.
So, no, it was good fun. So I was at Redan, and then I went to North Ballarat for the last 3 games of the 2010 season.
Is that VFL?
Yeah, VFL. Yeah. And then we won so I played 3 home and away games for them, 3 finals. We won the Premiership against Northern Bull Ants, and then got drafted from there. So
crazy, man.
I remember when I first got to North Ballarat, they were talking about a rookie selection because teams have been coming to watch me at Redan, and then each week it was just coming in like rookie, 5th round, 4th round, and then by the grand final I was going to go 1st round, and I like money. And I was sort of doing the calculations, and I was like, the contract between a 1st-round player and a rookie player is a shitload difference. So it was good.
Inspired
good result
you a little bit to get. Yeah. So when you were coming through, because back then I can't say this I know, but teams weren't really scouting through like local leagues back then.
No, I wonder. I don't know why it changed. Yeah. I remember I was playing at Redan and. I got called in. We used to go to the Bunch of Grapes for team selection on a Thursday night, and the boys would have a couple of beers, and they had really good dim sims. So dim sims were sort of the thing of choice. And I remember they had this side room where the coaches used to pick the team, and they asked me to go in there, and I was sort of like, oh shit, like, I didn't fuck up on the weekend,
Yeah.
so they can't be getting angry at me for something that's happened on the weekend. I'm our best player, so surely I'm not getting dropped. I'd never been asked to go in there, and in my first 2.5 years, I was thinking, oh, God, what have I done? Like, what's happened? Anyway, I go in there, and they're like, oh, we haven't been telling you this, but like pretty much every club's been coming to watch you play footy. And as a 21-year-old who I thought it was going to be my last year of footy because I wanted to work in sport, so I wasn't really thinking AFL was an option. It was a bit of a shock, and I was like, and they want you to go and play VFL so they can see how you go against the next level. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool being at uni and all that unfolding.
And what would be in the time period of like from going to play VFL to then the draft, like 3-4 months?
Yeah, probably not even that.
Yeah.
I reckon it was like start of August, September, and then October, November.
Yeah.
So yeah, 3 or 4 months. Yeah,
It's fucking crazy.
yeah, it went real quick.
What was Hawks the team? Like, were they the only team that took it super seriously, or they said there was like, did you have meetings with anyone?
Well, yeah, I ended up meeting with all of them. Graham Wright won't like me telling this because he got angry at me one day for saying it. But the Hawks meeting was the quickest meeting I had. Righty came down to Ballarat and literally spoke to me for, I reckon, 10 minutes. Asked me a couple of questions and walked out. And I thought, oh, well, I'm definitely not going to Hawthorn. And then, yeah, ended up, there was a couple of teams I flunked my meeting with.
Who'd you flunk?
Oh, I'm not saying.
Come on now.
I can't say.
Why'd you flunk it?
I can't say. I like people.
Did they flunk it or you flunked it?
I flunked it.
How? Just not answering the right questions?
Nah, I just probably didn't give my best self.
God, you got to give us one.
No, I can't. I can't.
So there are people that are still in the industry now, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want that whole team fan base to hate me as well.
Okay,
but
fair.
I'm a bit of I like sport and I like business, and I've always been big on following certain trends, and I realised pretty early, and this was before I was even coming into the system, that financial stability and stability at board level at clubs is really important if you want to have success. So people always go, oh, I just want to get drafted and I just want to go to any club. Yeah, that was me, but I didn't just want to go to any club. I wanted to go to a club that was financially strong and they had a stable board, because more often than not, they're the clubs that'll have success. And growing up, Dad was massive around team success. Had nothing to do with the individual. It was just you play football to play in grand finals, and that's it. It's all about the team. So
that's really awesome. Like, that's a great note, because I've thought about this so much since I've left, and not to throw daggers at anyone. It's just more around, you look at what's happened over the past few years of teams. You look at Geelong, you look at Hawthorn, you look at Richmond, even with what happened with Damien Hardwick and Brendan Gale around, like they just stuck together and backed each other in.
Yeah.
It honestly does have so much to do with boards, CEOs, everything. Like, they are so important to how clubs run.
Oh, it's massive. And it's funny, like I love when I hear people come out and say, oh, he's the best man for the job or whatever, or best woman for the job. And it's like, well, no. Like, no one's ever the best man or the best woman or whatever for the job. Like, it's who you've got around you. And if you're good enough for the job, which plenty of people are, and you have good enough people around you and you stick together, you can go on a massive journey together. So I was fortunate enough to go to Hawthorn I remember when, I think it was either pick 18 or 19, I can't remember, but I remember Hawthorn came up and Freo had the next pick, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to Freo because I had a really good meeting with them, and I thought, yeah, that's where I'm going to end up. And then Hawthorn called my name out, which was really cool because there was only two people I knew pretty much in AFL, other than some North Melbourne people because of the North Ballarat connection. But I grew up with Luke Bruce and Matt Suckling, played footy all my juniors with them. So it was pretty cool to go to Hawthorn and then be able to play a whole AFL career with them.
Just on back to that question, I'm really curious about that. Did you ask in those meetings about board stability? Were you asking them about that?
I don't think I asked about that specifically.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing no worries, mate. I'm guessing that I'm guessing there's people out there that would have taken notes in those meetings, but they were certainly angles that I would have been pushing.
That's because I just think, like you said before, about players looking to get into teams, the big thing is they're just trying to impress and say the right answers. But to have it like thrown on them, being like, "Well, how's your board stability?" They just put it in like, "What the fuck?"
No, I wouldn't have said it like that. Mind you, Geelong rocked up, and they rocked up on a Thursday. This story's public. I reckon Scotty and I have both told it. It's when Scotty first got the Geelong job.
Yeah.
But I live with two of my best mates, and it was uni night the night before. So, like Jono, my housemate, came down and answered the door with just his jocks on. While I was upstairs, I didn't realise. And then we mowed the lawn the day before because we knew Geelong were coming, and there was pebbles in the lawn, and we smashed a window, and the glazier rocked up when Geelong were there.
Oh, no.
And then Scotty's like, "You rocked down with no shoes on." I'm like, "Well, I'm in my own house, mate. I don't need to have shoes on to have a meeting." So there was him, Nigel Lappin, Stephen Wells, and a couple other people. And he goes, "We wanted to take you, and then you've rocked up like that." But no, it was a really cool process, and the draft's interesting because it's luck of the draw.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate enough to go to a really good club and a really strong club at the time with two blokes that I knew well. So it was a fun time.
Talk us through, like, we could sit here and talk about Hawthorn for a million episodes, but what was like initial reactions to going to the club? Where were you sort of placed at the time? It would have been sort of fresh off the 08 because you got there in what?
Well, fresh off 08.
Yeah.
They bombed in 09,
Yeah.
bombed in 10. I reckon they made the finals, but they were just sort of sputtering along. And I got there at a really cool time that they drafted a few guys like Liam Shields, Matt Suckling, Ben Stratton, Luke Bruce, Ryan Shieldmakers. They'd all been drafted just before me. And Clarko was still holding on to that 08 team. And it was about round 3 of the year that I got there that Clarko just blew that whole team up. And he brought in about 10 or 11 of us younger guys. And that ended up being
the next
phase, and certainly you'd say some weren't the core, but certainly the driver of that next phase of success. You know, you had your older guys, but they need the energy of the young guys to come in and really drive what we're after. So it was a pretty cool period and a pretty cool group to be involved in. We used to have a group meeting the day before a game, all us, younger guys at that stage. And we'd say which opposition player we're going to target and a few little things. And because we're so young and energetic, it allowed the older guys just to play football and be the better players as such. But we were the guys that really drove the energy and certain facets of our game, which targeting a player, Clarko certainly loved that. Like, I'm not sure you ever popped up in our...
No, it may be in the Box Hill one. Don't laugh about that one. You enjoyed that way too much. What about that period you were saying before about 08 coming off? It was a bit sort of bombed out.
Yeah.
Young guys coming in. Did anything sort of happen prior to the 3 flags?
There was...
That helped, like forges together or anything like that?
Yeah, there was...
I've heard so many stories of Xavier Ellis, like Clarko punching himself in the face. And
Yeah. One of the best ones, Clarko, the punching in the face. There was also ones, you got the drink racks that hold 6 to 8. Who's the AFL sponsor of drinks at the moment?
Gatorade or Powerade?
Is it Gatorade or Powerade? What are we saying?
Prime.
Yeah.
Whoever it is.
Whoever it is, doesn't matter. But I saw you're a link to the AFL, so I was going to say the right one. But they were full, and he got that angry. He went to kick the whole thing, thinking they were empty, and they were all full. He kicked it. Oh, mate, you've never seen a bloke hobble and squirm after
Broke
that.
his foot.
Oh, mate,
Probably.
it was so funny. But there's so many moments. We'll wait till he retires until we tell all the funny things.
I feel that's the.
He doesn't need the North Melbourne boys stirring him up about a few of the things. But, it was really interesting because the club, we ended up losing random. My mate's birthday on Feb the 20. I'm not sure when these go out, but I've rolled into one of the pubs in Geelong on Tuesday night and they're having a couple of beers and they're watching the TV and they look up and it's the Hawthorn prelim against Collingwood in 2011. I'm thinking, geez, what's going on here? And I get really awkward watching myself playing. I never liked watching reviews or highlights of that because I look at me, I'm like, look at your little linguini arms. You look like an idiot. What are you doing out there? But anyway, it got to a real funny period because we lost that prelim. They should have been winning grand finals. We lost the 2012 grand final and we should have won that against Sydney. We had a fantastic year and it was probably our best home and away season. Not taking anything away from Sydney. They were brilliant on the day and they deserved it. But that was probably our best home and away season where everything was put together. and we didn't win it. So we weren't naive to think that if we're not winning it, then stuff's going to happen and stuff will get blown up. But I mentioned in another podcast I did, there was a really pivotal meeting we had on our camp in Mooloolaba, and Luke Loudon stood up and pretty much posed the question that, if the people at the top of the tree can't be holding themselves and everyone else accountable, then how are the people at the bottom of the tree meant to do it? So it was a really cool meeting, and we talked about ruckman, and Luke spent about 10 years on a list and played bugger all games. So, but it had a huge impact on the club and especially the leaders of the team at the time. And I'm not saying that was the catalyst, but there were certain moments that happened at Hawthorn that really strengthened our resolve, and losing the 2012 Grand Final did. And I truly believe if we didn't lose that, we probably wouldn't have gone on and won 3 in a row. So you got to take the good with the bad. I don't often think about 12, so it doesn't matter. I only think about 13, 14, 15.
It's a lot to think about. You spoke about the success thing earlier, like how important your old man was saying, like how big success is, and winning 3 flags at Hawks, 1 at Geelong. Do you look back, like, do you have a formula? Do you think there is a formula for it, or do you think it just is a culmination of a million things?
Do I have a formula for winning them?
If you look at all 4 of the flags, is there a common thread, or are they all sort of separate?
No, I do, and I don't really want to say, because if I ever decide to go into coaching, then
yeah, okay, we like that.
I don't want to be giving up certain things. But I was fortunate enough. I won a grand final in 05, won 1 in 06, lost 1 in 7, missed the finals in 8, lost a prelim in 9, won a grand final in 10, won a grand final in... No, sorry. I've stuffed this up. Won 1 in 6.
It's hard
5.
to forget them all.
Sorry. Won 1 in 5, won 1 in 6, lost 1 in 7, nothing in 8, won a grand final in 9, won a grand final in 10, lost an AFL prelim in 11, lost an AFL grand final in 12, won 1 in 13, 14, 15. So for an 11-year period there...
Playing a lot of footy.
I won 7 or 8 grannies, and I think I've only got 1 year in the decade that my liver can recover because I don't have a reunion. So I've been fortunate enough to have a fair bit of success and see how it all unfolded. And there's 3 or 4 things I'm really big on that I think help you win a premiership. And I look at some clubs and question some of the things they do. But it's really cool to be able to have that experience and understand success. But first and foremost is you need, as I mentioned before, you need board stability. You need a really good coach. You need coaches underneath that coach who aren't going to splinter and have different conversations with different people. You need the coach and the assistants all on the same page. They can have as much argy-bargy in a locked room, but when they come out, you need them all on the same page. And I've got this theory that I've got to get it right, because it's hard to get it right all the time. But so great players make a great coach, but a great coach makes a great team. So if the coach ever forgets that the players need to be great, then he's lost it. If the players ever forget that the coach doesn't need to be great, then they've lost it. But if you can have great players, great coach, then you get a great team.
I really like that. You know what my biggest thing that I reckon is incredibly important that doesn't get spoken about enough, and again, I always relate this to not just footy, but like life, bands. Like I went and saw Blink-182 the other night, and was sort of chatting with my mate about how much they've broken up over the years and got back together. And it's just crazy how, when you look at a successful band, group, business, anything, it's just all about knowing your role, sticking together, and just being open, honest, transparent with each other. And just not letting ego get in the way. And I've definitely been in situations across many things where that's happened, and you learn from it and you get involved. But even the assistant coach one, like there's been so many times where even through careers and stuff, you think they say things and you're like, I don't know if you that's what you're meant to be sort of saying right now. Like,
Yeah.
because it just divides everything. Do you think that the culture of like winning is at cost of bigger things? Like you look at now,
Yeah.
you look at a lot of teams and a lot of people that maybe don't have the success, but there's no relationships post footy. Like I'm assuming, and I know I'm lucky enough to know a lot of like the Hawks guys and the way you guys still stick together. I know there's been fractions of different people and everywhere, but it's morally it's pretty close knit. You want to have that relationship post things as well.
Yeah.
Whereas where the culture comes in, like you want to have that friendship for life.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the best thing about footy. I'm sure you've got great relationships out of footy, but the best thing about success is that
you come back and
you're always coming back, and there's something to come back for. Like I only played 3 years at Geelong, but now I've got something to take me back there every 10 years, and probably it'll be more often than every 10 years. And that means that not only am I connected to that club, my wife's connected to everyone at the club and all the partners, and then my kids now have always got something to go back for, which is pretty cool.
It's unbelievable. It's so cool. Yeah, it's a thing that I, not that it was a reality, but it's like that's the dream for any sports person or anyone to have something to come back to and feel a part of.
Yeah,
at a club, which, unfortunately, I actually don't think it's, from someone that hasn't had success in the sporting field, I actually don't want that, if that makes sense. Like you want it when you deserve it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you should really have it unless you've earned it.
Yeah.
You can still catch up with people and do it, but it's like, unless you've won a flag, what's the point?
Yeah.
What are you sort of celebrating?
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. And like, I'm just fortunate I've got a few to go to.
Yeah, you could share them, but it's sort of hard. What about favourite flag at Hawks? Favourite flag of all time? How the fuck did the Geelong thing happen, man? That didn't see that coming.
Going to Geelong?
Yeah.
It just felt right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did that sort of start popping up? Like, it was really, now that I know you, I had no idea how sort of not business savvy in the best way possible, but like strategic you are with things, and it makes a correct call to have done it.
Yeah, it was a big call at the time just because we'd had such a rivalry against them.
Yeah.
Hawthorn were obviously about to go through a period of transition, and my birth date really didn't help where I was at there. In the sense that they wanted me to stay and they offered a really good contract. It was more money than what Geelong were offering.
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel right, and it felt like there were some difficult times to come at Hawthorn. And it didn't feel like they certainly were looking to enhance my career. And ultimately, it is your career. So it was a really difficult period. I love the Hawthorn Football Club and I have such great memories, but it was time for change. So then I had to go and do my homework and work out what the best possible place to go to was. And I've never made decisions on money, and I mentioned money before, but I've never made football decisions of that magnitude on the actual dollar signs. It's more about where am I going to be best suited, which has served me well. The bank manager would have preferred me to make other decisions, but
I think that with success, it's like an investment for life.
Yeah,
right,
it is an investment.
Well. So it's like
it is.
You take a pay cut, but if you're winning flags, like that's forever going to be.
Yeah, which is
that's not the reason you win flags, but it's a great thing that happens.
And that's something that my parents instilled into me, which was awesome, and I'm so lucky for that. But yeah, the Geelong one, it felt right when I met with them, and it just.
Did you who initiated, or like obviously just with the Hawthorn thing? I actually really love and respect what Hawthorn do. And I'm not sure if the situation was the same as like the Hodge and, Jordan Lewis, Sam Mitchell type setup of sort of leaving and doing the coaching or finishing off their career somewhere else. Was it similar to that, or was it a bit different?
A little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were moving them on at the time.
Yeah,
where
they wanted you to stay.
They wanted me to stay.
Like, this isn't really where I want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could do a whole episode on this, but it was a really interesting time. And I remember Clarko, after I told him that it was Geelong, said, mate, like, they've got wingers. They've got Mitch Duncan. They've got Sam Menengola. Like, you'll be lucky to even get a game there. And I was like, maybe not to that extent, but he's like, where are you going to play? And in my head, I was like, mate, I'm the best winger in the comp. I'll get a game at any club. It doesn't worry me. So you've also got to back yourself in. I certainly put the plums on the line with that move, and it was a little bit hairy, but it worked out for the best. And I'm so fortunate that I got to go through the main part of my career at Hawthorn. Got some great mates out of there. It was an awesome club. There was awesome people involved. Had a great coach. Had great CEOs. Great board. It was all so stable when I was there at the time, and I could see that was starting to fracture. And then when I got to Geelong, they operate so differently to Hawthorn, but one thing that is exactly the same, or was exactly the same, was they had a great coach, they had a great CEO, their board was really stable. So yeah, it was really cool. And now I've got some great mates from there, and I've absolutely loved the move, and we're loving living down there. So cool. It was pretty cool.
The more you say about the strategy of a board and stuff like that, I've also noticed this one thing where I keep going, I've never heard of that board before, but it's like
they're the best. They're
probably
the best
why
one.
It's the best one. It's like when you actually don't hear about them, is when it's going well.
Yeah, it was funny. It's funny. A little story. We lost the prelim to West Coast. Not West Coast. I was at Geelong. Sorry. Played in too many. I don't know which one we won and lost, but we lost the prelim to Melbourne over in the second year of COVID over in Perth, and it was pretty morbid coming off. And at the end of prelim finals, and you lose them, and we lost them by, it was like 11 or 12 goals, so it was horrific. And we had a really old list, and this is where Scotty's just unbelievable, but everyone's coming from everywhere in the media, and we should tip it all out. We're done, too old, blah, blah, blah. The same things that you get all the time. But, people were going to lose their jobs, and people were going to get delisted after that game. Like, that's just the reality of football. You have to have 3 list changes every year, so someone's going. But I remember it was all pretty morbid at Optus Stadium, and right at the end I was deciding to go to Geelong or Melbourne. And I remember I rolled out in the change room. There were some blokes that were down in the dumps, and I thought, oh, well, like, we've lost it. Like, there's nothing we can do about it. There's no point worrying about it. We're here for another couple of days. We're in lockdown. We may as well have a few beers and enjoy ourselves. I said, well, boys, you've just lost a prelim, but I gave up a few $100,000 and a Premiership medal next week by choosing you over Melbourne. So...
How did they take that?
There was a few laughs and a few chuckles, and it was all good. But it's amazing when you stick together, you stay strong, you keep stability, you keep a belief, you have a coach that drives that, and we come out, and in 2022 we had one of the greatest seasons that any individual team's had for a season. So. You just can't throw things out too quickly in football.
Oh, mate, it's anything though. Like, I've just found that just so much. It's just, you just got to stay together and be consistent. And it's not about like these peaks and troughs. It's just about a slow incremental rise.
Yeah.
Do you think like that us versus them mentality, was that ever, like, not probably those like actual words, but is that what happens in those situations? Because you do talk about, we talk about that too old mentality, and media talking about the Cats, like, well, they keep getting like older players. It's a retirement home down there. Da 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 da. Yeah. Did that like fuel anything, or was it just more a thing to just like stick together and be a part of it?
Yeah, I don't know if it fueled anything. I find the way one way the AFL system's set up is that you need young guys coming in, and you need young guys on your list and all that. But I don't know. I'm flabbergasted why teams don't get more older guys that are coming towards the end of their career.
Yeah, I love it.
Especially they've been involved in success, because they add so much to your playing group. And the one thing they do is they protect the young guys from so many hits. Even if you go to a team that is going to lose by 10 goals, you get a couple of older guys, you might only lose by 6 goals or 5 goals. So you don't get those massive mental demons that a young guy might get in their career, and then they find it difficult. Carlton, when you were there, they had so many first round picks, but mentally I'm guessing things were just so difficult there at certain stages. And it's it's interesting. I like the older guy method, but you also need to be bringing in a lot of young talent to support that as well. But I don't know if it brought us together. I think Geelong's unique that it's out of Melbourne.
Yeah.
And I think that initially galvanises the group a little bit. They've got a great club down there. They really look after their players. And there's a lot of guys with kids. And when we were at Hawthorn and we had success, there was a lot of guys with kids. And I think that helps because it gives you a different perspective. It gives you something else to worry about. Footy isn't the be-all and end-all and the most important thing. It is when you're in it, but you're able to step out and you go home to a family and your wife doesn't care if you only had 5 kicks on the weekend or you didn't kick a goal or you missed a mark or whatever. Yeah, my wife certainly never cared if I missed a tackle because she wouldn't be with me otherwise. But yeah, no, it's amazing. Yeah, it's been an amazing little journey.
It definitely has. The one part I'd love to chat about is like you're talking before around sticking together, all this stuff. I've never really spoke to a player about an ex-player about how important this stuff is around the business of the game and relationships, honesty, those bits and pieces. If you ever had teammates, or maybe you didn't even have them because they didn't last in the organisations you were in, or people in the team that were, complaining, bitching, moaning about certain bits and pieces. What ended up happening in those situations with the players that you were around, or the culture that fitted into that time? Did they just not last?
No, not necessarily. I think like Clarko and the Hawthorn Footy Club fostered a really good culture, but a really good program that, like, if you had concerns, air them.
Yeah.
But then once they're dealt with, they're gone. So don't sit on them. And I think in cultures that probably aren't as successful is that concerns probably don't get heard. So then the player or the coach, they start to fester, and then they go and talk to that guy in the change room, and then that guy in the change room, and then that guy. And next thing you know, you got 30 blokes in the change room talking about it and bitching and moaning about it. Yeah. Hawthorn was really good at, and Geelong the same, but bringing up conversations. We had certain meetings that we'd have each week where things could get aired and concerns could get aired. So I got nipped in the bud real quick. Which is important in any, because one thing you don't want to dismiss is you don't want to dismiss people's emotions, feelings, thoughts, because as soon as you do that, then they withdraw as well. So if people feel like they can contribute, they feel like they can air their concerns, or how can we get better, or whatever it is, an open environment to some extent is a really good environment.
Das, I'm just a side point to you. Are you impressed? Not that I shouldn't be impressed, but I just can't believe, and when you think about it, winning 4 flags, being in that sort of career, like how much knowledge there is here of this stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm learning a lot today.
No, 100%.
Well, just stuff that like you talk about, but you're just like, fuck, it's great to hear that, like around the business of the game, the culture, the things that actually matter.
Yeah, in the best way possible. It's been surprising. Like, I didn't expect
this.
You
didn't expect
well, no, I didn't, like, when you think about it logically, I think, well, fuck, obviously you've got these incredible lessons that you've learned, but I just didn't know that was a part of your repertoire around how, like, in the nicest way possible. It's like, it's incredible how knowledgeable you are in the game.
It makes a lot of sense now.
It does make it. Well, it's not that I'm surprised. I'm just like, fuck, I just didn't. Yeah.
No, cool. I do get you're just a happy, smiley kid all the time.
Well, no, it's just maybe because before speaking to you sort of today, like there's the media presence and stuff. You've never been sort of talking about that sort of stuff, but it's just it's so fascinating.
You can't give everything away.
No, exactly, and you're not today. There's some secrets there. I didn't word you up on this, but I'm just super interested now because I feel like you'd have these people. Just say tomorrow you were starting a team.
Yeah.
You had 5 people to sort of go to war with, and they could be players or board members, coaches, like whoever it is.
Yeah.
Who would sort of come to the top of your mind of people you've been with in your career?
This is unfair because there's so many.
There is a lot, but
you put me on the spot.
I have put you on the spot. We can take our time, but just say if we went like board, coach, player.
Well, I'm going to have to put a mix of Geelong and Hawthorn people in there.
Yeah.
So now this is really difficult.
If you just say you got lodged the Tasmanian sort of like license to go and pick 5 people to take over to start a new club and put it in the best position possible, who would you take?
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be 5. It can be whoever you want.
No, I don't know. Lots. There'd be so many people. I think Kennett he gets a bit of a bad rap now. But what he did for Hawthorn during the 2000s period with Jason Dunstall was massive.
What was that? Like, I'm not even aware of
Well, the Hawthorn Footy Club was on its knees at the start of 2000, and then Jason Tunstall came in. He probably doesn't get enough accolades, but I know he was a huge support for Clarko, but also a huge support for the footy club. So I reckon Dunstall would be a pretty astute one to get in. If you need some movers and shakers at political level, Kennett in his prime would be certainly one that you'd want.
Yeah.
Stuart Fox was huge at Hawthorn.
Was he the president or CEO?
CEO.
Yep.
He's CEO of MCC now.
Yeah. I've met Stuart Fox actually. He was
great guy.
Yeah.
So he was handpicked from Geelong by Kennett. So there's a bit of Geelong and Hawthorn mixed into it. He was able to have really tough conversations. He read a really good business, and he just saw it really well from a player's point of view. And I really admired how he went about it. Coach-wise, we take your pick. I was fortunate. So we had Clarko, but then you had Adam Simpson under him, Chris Fagan, Luke Beveridge. Like, they've all been successful, all these guys. There'd be even more. I can't even think. Scotty's been...
Rats.
Rats. He was huge for me. He's probably individually the coach that helped my career the most. I was so lucky to have Rats. He took me under his wing. He's a good man, Rats. And then Scotty was awesome for me, especially in the period of life I was in with young kids, a couple of things going on, being a bit older. I couldn't have asked for anything more when I got to the Geelong Footy Club. So coach is a hard one. Hodgie, like, how do you not have Hodgie?
How do you split like Hodge and Selwood? You played with like two of the best skippers of like all time.
Yeah, well, success helps that best skipper thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They were just brilliant. They were one of the boys.
Yeah.
They could understand anything you were going through because they had been through it before. They were absolutely ruthless on the field, and they didn't care what perception or public or anyone thought. They were out there to win, and that's what they were getting paid to do. So they were pretty cool in that sense. I didn't get Joel in his absolute prime. I got Hodgie in his prime.
You reckon you got like a beaten up Joel? Is that what you're saying?
Not a beaten up Joel, but he certainly wasn't in his mid-teens form.
Yeah.
But I can't even name the players. Like Hodgie,
it's hard to.
Jordan Lewis was huge. Like, if you were starting your team, like, there was Bud and Cyril. Then I had Jezza and Hawk, like, and Ruffy.
Some of the fucking craziest like lineups of all time, really.
It's like someone said, "Oh, can you put your
best 22 together?"
Best 22 together, and I was like, "Well, so I've got like Cyril and Luke Bruce as small forwards, and then I'll get to Geelong and Tyson Stengel as an All-Australian year, and then it's like, rightio, so I'll do my full forward, centre forward. That should be easy." And then I'm like, I've got Bud, I've got Hawk, I've got Jezza, I've got Ruffy.
Gunston as well, Roughhead.
Yeah, well then, and then you like, so you try and squeeze all them in, but then you like, you got gunners who kick 50 goals every year, and you're like, he's a gun. And then there was a couple other players, there's a couple other forwards that I would have missed. But it's like, how do you even do a forward line?
Yeah.
And then it's like, you try and do a back line, and it's like, well, that's just ridiculous. That's absurd as well.
Yeah.
Like, you got Tom Stewart, who's probably the best defender in the game. But then it's like, what, you're not going to...
Stratton, you've got...
Josh Gibson, Brian Lake, Grant Birchall's probably the most underrated footballer player in the last 10 years. And then...
Do you get a game?
Yeah. Oh, hands down, mate.
You're the skipper.
Yeah. No.
That is
Imagine
good.
controlling that many egos.
Oh, mate, that would be...
But it's just like, it was off its head when you tried to put a team together. And then like the midfield, I'm like, oh, gee, we had a good midfield at Hawthorn. And then it's like, how could you not put Danger and Joel as the starting centreman?
You got Mitchell, Lewis, Hodge when he's in there.
Yeah.
But then there's just so many other players that like would be playing incredible roles as well, like Atkins or something, for example.
Yeah.
That it's just so important to how.
But then
things
like
work.
Puopolo, who He was brilliant. But then and then the best player of more, who never gets mentioned, Sean Burgoyne.
Yeah, right.
Like, you go into any position and be the best player. And then randomly Mark Blitzarves.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the best player I've played with, but he's the most valuable player I've ever played with.
Yeah, it just goes anywhere.
He can play any position on the ground and beat anyone. And it's
Pretty lucky, man.
it was pretty cool. I was trying to do something. It wasn't long ago. Someone asked me, and
You'd have to put like a squad.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
It'd be tough.
Yeah.
2021? Was it 2021, Granny?
That we won?
Yeah.
Nah,
the Cats,
22.
22. So Norm.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That tops things off. Do you think that that's just like the icing sort of on the cake for everything?
It was pretty cool. Like I mentioned earlier that, Dad, he was so big on team stuff, but he's like, oh, there's only one medal that ever matters.
The Normie, yeah. My old man would say the exact same thing, the Norm Smith.
Yeah, so as a kid. But it's funny, when I was at Hawthorn, I never thought of it.
Mm.
And in 2015, without blowing my own tyres up, I had a cracking granny. Kicked 3, had high 20 disposals. And that was all in the first 3 quarters, because in the last quarter, I was like, how good's this? We've won.
Who won it that year? Was that
Cyril.
Cyril.
And I was like, I wasn't even thinking of it. I should have been, because I think I had 1 touch in the last quarter.
Yeah, you had to do junk time.
Yeah, it's you could have won 2. Then Hodgie wouldn't have anything on me.
True.
No, but it was I wasn't even thinking about it. And then get to Geelong, and I was randomly having a discussion with Hawk and a couple of the boys. It was before the finals, but they were talking about that, what medals matter. And I was like, there's only one, to me.
Yeah.
As in, they all matter, and they've shown great players win lots of great things, and hats off to them. But I was like, nah, you want to win that one. We didn't even know we were going to be playing in the grand final at that stage. And I remember the grand final day, I got caught in the lift of the hotel for 20 minutes just before the bus was taken off to the ground. And I was like, are you serious? My pop, who I was really close to, passed away 2 days before. And I was just it's been a hell of a week. And then, so I'm sitting in that lift just thinking, and then I hit the button, and there was about 10 of us in the lift, and it goes through to the operator person, and they're like, oh, yes, sir, we should be able to get someone out there in the next 2 to 3 hours. I'm like, that ain't going to work. I ought to be out of this lift in 10 minutes. Anyway, randomly after about 15, 20 minutes, the lift moved, and we just at half went, so we had to half.
Who were you there with?
There's only one other Geelong person in the lift, and then there was
so there's a few others though.
Yeah, and then there was a fair few of the AFL people were staying at the hotel. Then we'll drive into the game, and this sounds so ridiculous, but it had been a big week for me personally and my family. And I remember just driving to the game thinking, I can't be fucked. This is still a grand final. I'm like, what is going on? And I know that it was just an array of emotions going on. And when I used to play back in Ballarat, I used to listen to music going to games randomly, because I don't listen to music really at all. And I thought, just put some music in your phone, in your ears. And so I put some music in my ears, and I learned a couple of cool tricks playing the grand finals at Hawthorn, that don't go out on the ground too early, because you lose so much energy before the game. You go out there, there's stuff going on. There's just stuff going on. So your nervous system's fully overloaded. So the last 2 or 3 grand finals I played in AFL level, I didn't go out. If I went out onto the ground, it was 2 or 3 minutes, and I was straight back in. Just quickly have a look what's going on and get back in, because you just burn so much excess energy you don't need to burn. You're already going to be ready, because it's grand final. Your nervous system is it's peaking, so you're good. So I actually took a bit of time just to close my eyes, relax, try and just build up a bit of energy, because I felt like I had none left. And then we started the game, and I was just like, I am done here. I don't know where the ball's going. I cannot get a kick. It was 5 minutes into the game, and I was thinking, what are you doing? This is the biggest game of the year. And then I just thought, fuck this. I'm just going to take it on. I'm having fun today. Whatever happens, happens, but I'm just having fun. And then within 5 minutes, everything had turned. And it was one of those games. I don't know if you ever played one of them at Box Hill or Doncaster East or whatever, but it was one of those games where everything you did it was just right. Like there was a couple of kicks I did that I was like, actually, I'm just kicking this as far as I can because I just need to get it out of the area and hopefully have a rest for 10 seconds. And like it went to someone and they kicked a goal.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is going on today? And then I kicked a goal from about 55. Jezza gave me the handball. And it was going through the middle of the points on the left. It was the punt road end. It was going middle of the points left. And I don't know. Like I don't know if Pop was up there or however life works. No one knows. That's the beauty of it. But it was like going there. And I'd been kicking him with a hook all year, Nelly, like a little hook, and it was starting to really annoy me. And I sat it out there. I don't know if wind came or what happened, but it was like someone stopped it and went, and just dropped it in the goals. And right at that point, we'd won the game pretty much. And I just thought, I don't know, I just can't do anything wrong today. I even won a hardball get. You know when Joel kicked that goal? I won a hardball get and got the handball out. That's how I kicked the goal.
I fainted seeing that.
Like, I haven't had a hardball get in my career.
That's incredible. To your question, no, I've never experienced that. But it was an unbelievable game, and it just felt like the whole team was in flow state.
Yeah, and not often in footy
you might have a couple of those days.
Well, I've had 3 of them on grand final day.
Wow.
So 14 against Sydney, 15 against West Coast, and 22 against Sydney. Isn't it amazing? Played in 5 AFL grand finals, 3 of them being against Sydney. But 3 times our team was in flow state on the biggest game, which is pretty cool.
It's fucking cool, man. And then like the more you do it, the more you just get that benefit of it, because you see it work the other way of players and teams in the past. Like if you don't get to that state and it goes the other way, then it's just like it happens. It just keeps happening and keeps happening and keeps happening.
Not that you ever really know, but it was funny. Like we ran out against Sydney in the grand final in 2022, and I watched them run out, and I was looking at them at the national anthem, and I think they're got a team that can do great things. Yeah. The way they've set that up and the way that Horse and Tom Harley and Charlie Gardner and that are putting that team together is pretty cool. But like I remember at the national anthem just thinking, there's no way we lose today.
Really?
After looking at them. And I was just, looking at their posture and all different things. And, you only create that bias and get that right when you win. I could have had that thought and we lose.
Yeah.
But it just felt like we were on, and it was a big occasion for them, and they just didn't nail it. They'll be better if they get there again.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You got to get there again.
Yeah.
What about I love this sort of analogy because I've never thought about it in a sense, but like I was chatting to this guy, you love your golf, Cam Smith, his psychologist is Jonah Oliver, who we've had on the pod before. And this like unreal thing he talks about around like the price of admission is nerves and all those bits and pieces. But he also works a lot with like people in the Olympics where, it's like 4 years, one event. If you fuck it up, it's not. Whereas footy, it's like, you got each week, but grand final day, there is no next week. It is what it is. And the biggest like misdemeanor or sort of fuck up that people make is that play around. You've got to do something extra on those days. It's like, boys, this is the biggest game of our career. Like we have to be better than we've ever been. It's like, he's like, it's actually the complete opposite. You've actually just got to go back to what you know and what you do. Be calm and play the way you've already played. Yeah. Because you've trained that, you've done that. And by actually coaches saying, it's bigger, it's better, it's this, you're actually already just fucking the team for something that it's like they've never done it before. So it's harder to actually achieve. Yeah. Was that like similar messaging? Is it?
Similar messaging. Like, on a personal note, those fundamentals are huge. Yeah. It's funny, the best games you ever had, it's because your fundamentals were perfect. Well, not perfect because there's no such thing as perfect, but they were as good as they could be. So that's one. That's massive grand final day. You're automatically going to play at a higher level because it's a grand final. And if you can get your fundamentals right, there's 2 things I always sort of went back to when big moments or big games were coming was, one, like nerves are good, but I always treat them as excitement.
Yeah, okay.
Or I think some people treat nerves as like, oh, this isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
And it's
so
a
you
negative.
Like tell your body, no, this is excitement.
This is excitement. Yeah. This means you're ready. Like, enjoy it. Like, embrace that. Or embrace going to the toilet 15 times a day of a game. Yeah. You know what I mean? And the other thing was, as a kid, and for any parent out there that is trying to teach their kids lessons, or for any kids out there that listens. I don't know how many kids you have that listen, but put yourself in those situations. Play as many sports as you can and put yourself in those situations as many times as you can, because no one's ever going to be perfect in them. No one's ever going to nail every single one of them. Yeah. And I had a huge misdemeanor in a big final, and I failed. But more often than not, in the biggest games of the year, and my numbers would suggest that in finals I was so much better in finals than in the home and away, because, and I put it back to one, I placed such a higher value on a big game versus a game that I didn't think mattered. But it was also, you did it so much as a kid. And as a kid, once you learn to succeed in those moments, then your inner belief system starts to believe that you can actually pull that out at any period of time.
Yeah. So you're talking about like visualizing big moments, and like, you know, kids aren't going to be visualizing, but we all have those things like kicking the winner after a goal, and those bits and pieces. It's just like forming those habits.
Visualizing, but like I played so much cricket.
Yeah,
I played so
you're
much
always
touch
in
footy.
those positions.
I played so much footy. Like there was always something. I did so much running as a kid, and I knew when the time came that I could find a little bit extra to succeed in those moments. And, you know, of course you're going to fail in moments, but isn't that the beauty of it? Because
you only get better from those failures.
Yeah, and you don't get the pure enjoyment of succeeding if you haven't failed.
Yeah. What's next, man? we were talking before about what you're doing this year, but like, geez, it'd be cool to see you do something at like in footy club level or AFL land or whatever it is. Like, what are you aiming for in that space? Do you want to get involved back in footy? Or you want to have a breather and do some other things?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Like, I was big on when I retired having a year off. I think that's for me, that was important. Yeah. One, I felt absolutely burnt out from playing. Two, I didn't want to hold any type of resentment or any negative feelings if I go back into clubland, because as a player, there's certain things that irk you, where I think it's positive to step away, for me, certainly, for a period of time. This year is just a big year of exploration, trying a few different things. I've always had a love for the media. I think that plays a really important role in footy, and sometimes coaches and players forget that the footy and players should certainly get paid more because they're the ones that put on the product, but never forget the role media play. And you look at US sports and how influential their broadcasters and everything are, how they build the excitement and entertainment around it all, which I think is pretty cool and something that I'd love to explore. And I have a passion for the future of the game, and making it the biggest and best sport in Australia and the biggest and best sport it can be. So I don't know if I'll explore something in that area. And then I also, love business and a few different things. So don't know. It's just a big year of exploration and a big year of doing fun things.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it's going to be cool, and you'll be an asset at whatever you do in the media or business space. Pump for the next sort of 12 to 24 months, see what happens. But we should definitely keep continuing some stuff here. We've got some, I love what you're saying about the American sports stuff. We've got some really cool things around live streaming of games and stuff coming this year that you'd be fantastic at, because you're actually very good at I love your directiveness.
Am I directive? Huh?
Yeah,
I do get told I'm too honest sometimes.
No, it's not. There's no such thing as being too, especially in the media. Like, it's gonna be fucking unbelievable hearing you give your opinion, because like I feel like, and I'm not personally good at this either, and I think it's really easy. It's easier to give an opinion when you've done it.
Yeah.
So like,
you certainly feel more confident.
Well, you feel confident. You also got the runs on the board to give some things. So if you're talking about big games and playing with other, like, you sort of got the runs on the board to be able to give your opinion on certain bits and pieces about footy, which definitely helps.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. And when you walk into a room, you certainly feel more confident than if you hadn't done it.
Yeah.
So, no, it's cool. And I'm not always in learning mode, but it's any journey you do to be able to learn, have success, because it validates certain things that you learn as well, which is pretty cool. And hopefully I've got another few years of being in the workforce and learning a heap more, because I think that's the thing that excites me, really.
I love it, man. Quick one, where's your golf game at the moment, handicap-wise?
Well, handicap is 2 kids that I have at home.
Okay.
That makes
Yeah.
golf quite difficult. 10 something at the moment.
Are you a lefty?
Nah, righty.
Yeah,
I'm
okay. That's
a
weird.
bit funny.
That's-
I do lots of things left and right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just need to play more because I should be lower.
What's your A1? Like, what's your 1 wood, and then what's your improvement area?
Depends what day it is.
Yeah.
My driver's usually pretty good.
Hitting those baby draws or those high cuts?
They're high cuts. I did hit a baby draw the other day at Peninsula Kingswood, which was nice.
In north or south?
No, it was south. First time I played there.
Yeah,
First
nice.
time I've been there,
Oh,
which was pretty cool. That's as good as a golfing experience as you get in Australia, other than Barnbougle probably.
Yeah. Oh, look, I'm close to being on there, but I've signed up. Hopefully be let in soon. But I do think my favourite Victorian experience still is National Old.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
National Old's cool. What's my one?
And even Vic for some. I love playing at Vic, Victoria.
I was about to say Kingston Heath.
Kingston Heath is just cool because
It's
of
just
like
pure.
Tiger Woods and like that whole story around him playing there.
Yeah,
I think they got the best logo in golf.
Yeah,
Kingston
yeah.
Heath, with
It's
the
pretty
little
cool.
Flower and stuff too.
National's
Have you been
good.
to Cathedral? I'm sure you've been
Yeah,
to
that's pretty.
Cathedral.
Actually,
Yeah.
that probably has to be the best
probably
Victorian
the best.
experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, how good's golf? But
best.
I need to play a little bit more. Now
We'll
the
get out
kids
for
are
a
in
hit.
care. Yeah, we will.
Yeah, definitely. Mate, thank you so much for today.
No worries.
It's
Too easy.
been incredible. Good stuff.